Picture this. It's the mid-1920s, Atlanta, Georgia, nestled in the heart of the South, a city bustling with life, yet marred by the ugly face of segregation. Amidst the jarring chords of inequality, a melody of hope was beginning to form. This melody would be the life of a young boy named Martin Luther King Jr., born in the winter of 1929. From the start, young Martin was cradled in a family deeply rooted in faith and a sense of justice. His father, a Baptist minister, and his mother, a schoolteacher, both played pivotal roles in shaping his perception of the world. The teachings imbued in him a deep-seated belief in the power of love and nonviolent principles that would later guide his life's work. Growing up, Martin was no stranger to the harsh realities of racial segregation. The bitter taste of prejudice was a daily part of his life. He witnessed the burning sting of discrimination, the cruel divide that colored every facet of existence. Yet, these experiences served as the crucible that would forge him into a leader. His parents nurtured in him a thirst for knowledge and a passion for learning. They stroked the fire of his curiosity, encouraging him to question the world around him. He would often be found buried in books, his mind wandering through the corridors of thought. His early life was a tapestry of contrasting threads, woven together by the harsh realities of his time. The everyday struggles of being black in a segregated America, the intellectual curiosity sparked by his family, and the spiritual guidance offered by his faith. These were the forces that shaped the young Martin, preparing him for the monumental task that lay ahead as he grew older. His voice began to echo the frustrations and aspirations of his people. His words rang out with a clarity and conviction that resonated with those who dared to dream of a better world. A young boy growing up in a world divided by color, Martin Luther King Jr. was about to embark on a journey that would change the course of history. As a bright student, King sought to understand the world around him one book at a time. His thirst for knowledge led him to Morehouse College, a historically black institution where he developed a deep appreciation for the power of education and the written word. He was only 15 when he enrolled, yet he excelled, immersing himself in the works of philosophers and social reforms, giving him a broader perspective of the world. At Morehouse, King's intellectual curiosity was matched by growing awareness of racial inequality. The injustice he saw around him was in stark contrast to the principles of inequality and fairness that he read about. It was a formative time that began to shape the future path after Morehouse. King's quest of knowledge and his desire to address racial inequality led him to a theological seminary in Pennsylvania. Here, he delved deeper into theology and philosophy, where he was introduced to the philosophies of the nonviolent resistance led by Mahatma Gandhi. This philosophy resonated with King, who saw it as a powerful tool for achieving social change. King's journey into academia didn't stop here. He moved to Boston University to pursue a doctoral degree in systematic theology. It was a challenging program, but King was undeterred. He saw it as an opportunity to further explore the ideas that he'd been wrestling with, ideas about injustice, inequality, and the power of love to overcome hate. At Boston University, King met and fell in love with Coretta Scott, a fellow student and gifted singer. She would become his wife and a steadfast partner in his life's work. Together, they could face the challenges of the civil rights movement and share the joys and sorrows of their personal journey. As King's academic journey culminated, he was more than just a scholar. He was a dreamer, a philosopher, a theologian, and an emerging leader. His education had given him a deep understanding of the world, its injustices, and the potential for change. It was during these years that the seeds of a dream were planted, a dream of a world where people are judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. The year 1955 would mark a turning point not just for King, but for America as a whole. These words we delve into a pivotal chapter of Martin Luther King's life, a chapter where the seeds of a great movement was sown. It was in the heart of Montgomery, Alabama, that King first stepped into the limelight of civil rights activism. The Montgomery bus boycott, sparked by Rosa Parks' brave refusal to give up her seat, was a defining moment by King, just 26 years old. found himself at the helm of this citywide protest against racial segregation on public transit. For over a year, the black community of Montgomery, under King's leadership, boycotted the buses, choosing to walk or carpool instead. The boycott was a success. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the bus segregation was unconstitutional. And this victory was not just for Montgomery, but for every American who believed in the promise of equality. In the wake of this triumph, King, along with other civil rights leaders, formed the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SCLC for short. The SCLC was instrumental in orchestrating the civil rights movement, channeling the power of a local protest movement into a national crusade for equality. King's philosophy of nonviolent resistance was the guiding principle of the SLC. He believed that the love and peaceful protest could overcome the hate and injustice. But the road to equality was not an easy path. King's house was bombed. He was arrested. He faced constant threats to his life. Yet, in the face of such adversity, King stood firm. His resolve was unshakable. The more the movement was met with violence, the more King preached nonviolence. The more he was threatened, the more he spoke out for equality in the face of adversity. King's commitment to nonviolence and equality only grew stronger, for the movement was gaining momentum. And as we'll see in the next chapter of his life, King's dream was about to echo across the nation, inspiring millions to stand up for justice and equality. On a hot summer day in 1963, King stood before a crowd of 250,000 people ready to share his dream. Imagine a scene, a sea full of faces gathered in the heart of America's capital, Washington, D.C. The air was thick with anticipation, and then the voice of Martin Luther King Jr. echoed across the National Mall, his words imbued with the power of hope, courage, and an unshakable belief in the promise of equality. King's I Have a Dream speech is not just a landmark moment in civil rights movement, but a defining moment in America's history. It was March, this gathering of souls yearning for injustice, that King unveiled his vision for a future where his four children would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. His dream was a simple one, yet profound in its implications. A dream where freedom and injustice would reign supreme, where the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners could sit together in the table of brotherhood. His dream was a beacon of guiding light, illuminating the path towards a more equitable society. And what an impact that dream has had. It challenged America to confront its own inconsistencies, to reconcile the promise of liberty and justice for all with the grim reality of racial discrimination. It sparked a nationwide introspection, a moral recognizing that would catalyze the passage of historic civil rights legislation. But perhaps most importantly, it gave the disenfranchised a voice, a rallying cry that echoed through the hills of Georgia and the bustling streets of New York City. Yet the dream was not just for the oppressed, but for the oppressor too. It was a call to action, a plea for understanding, a demand for empathy. It was a dream that transcended racial and cultural boundaries, reaching out to the collective conscience of a nation. King's words resonated across the nation, inspiring millions to join the fight for equality. His dream was now our dream. Even today, as we navigate the complexities of our modern society, we continue to be guided by the enduring power of King's dream. We carry it with us, a testament to the unyielding spirit of a man who dared to dream of a better tomorrow. Tragically, King's life was cut short, but his dream lived on. As we journey back to April 4th, 1968, we find ourselves in Memphis, Tennessee. The air is heavy with despair, and the news of Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination spreads like wildfire. Yet amidst the sorrow and chaos, a beacon of hope emerges. King's dream, his vision of equality and justice, refuses to be extinguished. It transcends the boundaries of his life, igniting a flame in the hearts of millions. In the wake of King's untimely demise, the civil rights movement faces an uncertain future, yet King's indomitable spirit serves as a guiding light, driving the movement forward with renewed vigor. His words echo through the streets, his message of peaceful protest and racial harmony resonating with those he left behind. The fight for equality continues, and King's legacy becomes the foundation upon which new leaders and activists rise. Fast forward to November 2nd, 1983. A bill is signed into law by then President Ronald Reagan, declaring the third Monday of January as Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a national holiday to the man who dared to dream, a day to remember his courage, his vision, his unwavering commitment to equality, all a day to honor the legacy of a king. And so each year on the third Monday of January runs around, we pause, we reflect. We remember the man who stood tall against the winds of prejudice, who dared to dream a world where all men and women are created equal. We remember the sacrifices he made, the battles he fought, the dream he held so dear. Today we honor King's legacy, remembering his courage, his dream, and his unwavering commitment to equality. In the words of King himself, the time is always right to do what is right. And so we step into the future. Let us carry King's dream with us. Let it guide us, inspire us, remind us of the power of love, of justice, of equality. Because as King so eloquently put it, the time is always right to do what is right.